What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got our Week 11 fantasy football wide receiver starts and sits for every single matchup, so make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Today's video is brought to you guys by Birddogs. And look, I know we're all searching for that perfect pair of shorts or pants that offers the best style, the best comfort, the best bang for your buck. Well, guess what? That search is over because Birddogs offers all of that and so much more. If you're looking for shorts, they have a ton of options with activewear, casual wear, or even beach wear. On top of that, their pants have a selection of khakis, joggers, and sweatpants. So what are you waiting for? Regardless of the occasion of the season, get yourself the most stylish, the most comfortable pair of pants with a built-in liner from birddogs.com. And if you use promo code ADP today, you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Again, that's birddogs.com, code ADP, and you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Make sure to check out birddogs.com, link in the description. We kick off week 11 on Thursday with the Titans at the Packers. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, this is a matchup where I much more prefer the running back options. But as far as wide receivers, you might be surprised that I only have Allen Lazard as a start, especially after some of the performances we saw last week, namely Christian Watson absolutely blowing up for the Green Bay Packers, multi-touchdown game. But I think this is the prime example of not chasing points. And honestly, this entire game might be the poster child of not chasing the wide receiver points. For the Packers, you've got Christian Watson, who blew up. For the Titans, you've got Nick Westbrook-Ikhine that also had a huge game. But I really do think it's going to be the running backs that are featured in this matchup. Relatively lower scoring game. Lazard, the first time he really kind of had of a poor performance when healthy in week 10. Other than that, he has been extraordinary. I still believe he is the top option for the Green Bay Packers. That's why I'm rolling with him. Now, yes, Randall Cobb is set to come off IR. That's why you see his name here, but I'm not going to rush him in. Sure, maybe Lazard's value in terms of ceiling is lowered a little bit. Maybe he is a low to mid-level wide receiver too, but I still think he is the best option out of this entire game as far as wide receivers are concerned. Again, I'm not chasing the points with Christian Watson, with Westbrook, with any of these guys, Burks, Robert Woods. I'm not chasing the targets, anything like that. So for that reason, just Lazard in this game for me. Then Bears at the Falcons. I'm sitting the top names here. They are Darnell Mooney for the Chicago Bears and Drake London for the Falcons, respectively. For the Bears, it's been just run the ball, then run it some more. And when they're going after their pass catchers, it's usually been Cole Kmet these last 2-3 weeks when the Bears have been successful. So Mooney just not getting enough volume. Sure, this offense is scoring a lot of points, but it's behind the legs of Justin Fields. And then whenever he does pass it, I mean, it's like 12, 13, 14 completions a game. That's not all that exciting and not really sustainable for fantasy production at the wide receiver position. So despite the good matchup versus the Falcons defense, I'm sitting Mooney. And then similar situation here. Yes, Drake London has a good matchup versus the Bears defense, but actually like the Bears defense in the secondary has actually been okay-ish. But still, I'm not going to, again, chase the production from last week. London has largely, even though very talented, been an underperforming this year because of Marcus Mariota, just because of the way that this offense for the Falcons has been constructed. I don't see that changing here, so I am sitting Drake London. Then Eagles at the Colts. I'll start the duos here for both these teams. For the Eagles, it's A.J. Brown, it's Devonta Smith. I think they're going to have a bounce-back game after what we saw versus Washington, the entire Eagles offense. So to me, A.J. Brown is a low-end wide receiver 1. Devonta Smith, boomer bust wide receiver 2. For the Colts, the big news for them, obviously Matt Ryan returning as the starter. I think that helps this entire offense and might be a surprise, but I, as a result, have Paris Campbell as a starter. I think he's, one of the biggest winners here, arguably right there along with Michael Pittman, who now, kind of back in the category of a mid to high end wide receiver too. And I think Paris Campbell, he had a great connection with Matt Ryan prior to Matt Ryan, being benched, being injured, whatever you want to call it. And last week we saw that connection again. I like Paris Campbell as kind of a similar to Devonta Smith, boomer bust wide receiver too. And then Alec Pierce, I wouldn't get too cute here. Too many, wide receivers to be fantasy relevant, so I would sit Pierce here. Then Jets at the Patriots, really only one name apiece for each team. For the Jets, it's Garrett Wilson. Simply put, he's the one that's getting the volume. I don't know what's going on with Elijah Moore. I don't know if he's fallen out of favor. Corey Davis banged up, so it's Garrett Wilson. I think that the Patriots are going to be able to slow down the Jets, similar to the last time they played. So I do think the passing upside in this game for both sides is going to be limited. For the Patriots, it's Jacoby Myers. That's kind of been the situation all season long. Both him and Garrett Wilson, to me, are kind of low to mid-level wide receiver twos in PPR formats, just because, again, I think this is going to be the Ramondre Stevenson show, maybe Damian Harris if he plays as well. So for that reason, I'm only looking at Jacoby for the Patriots. Afterwards, Commanders at the Texans. One name that I'm really interested in, that's Terry McLaurin. I know that this is a good matchup for Washington, and you might talk yourself into playing Curtis Samuel, but the Texans are the worst run defense in the NFL. So if anything, I anticipate a big game from Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson for Washington. I don't think they're going to have to do all that much through the air. So I'm just going to stick to the main guy. That's been Terry McLaurin. Has been playing very well with Heineke under center. We'll see how long that continues for. But again, probably a mid to high end wide receiver two in this game. Could be game script dependent. And then for the Texans, look, I don't know what to tell you. Nico Collins, Brendan Cooks, just all types of disarray in Houston. He obviously wants out. He won't get out this season. I don't know what that's going to lead to. It's been kind of lackluster production as of late. Nico Collins got a lot of volume this last week. I guess if you're looking for somebody and you're desperate and trying to find somebody from the Texans, I give the slight edge to Nico Collins. Seems like he's been just getting more opportunities. Obviously, Brendan Cooks isn't going to be there for the long term. So if you're desperate, Nico Collins. But either way, I think both these guys, very boom or bust. I just don't trust the Texans offense and or Davis Mills. Then Rams at the Saints. Look, this is some of the bigger news after last week. Cooper Kupp, arguably the best wide receiver in football, in fantasy, goes down, ankle injury, IR. Would not be a shock for him to really not return this season, considering the Rams' record. But short term, what are we going to see from the Rams offensively? There's no replacement for Cooper Kupp on this team. And sure, maybe Allen Robinson is the next guy up, but I just don't see him being force-fed the football. He's not all of a sudden going to become a wide receiver one. I think he's going to kind of more or less remain what he was before, kind of a boomer bust wide receiver too. Van Jefferson is also back healthy. Maybe some people are going to try and get Ben Skrolnik as that next guy up to replace Cooper Kupp. Again, I don't love this Rams offense the way it is right now. Matthew Stafford is banged up. The offensive line is all types of bad. And for that reason, I really do have concerns for the Rams offensively, kind of becoming an offense that you want to avoid without Cooper Kupp. For the Saints, it's Chris Olave. That's been the case all season long. We'll see. There's rumors that Jameis Winston might return as the starter this week. Whether that's good for Olave or not, I think it's not worse. So from that perspective, I actually prefer Olave over Allen Robinson. I think, again, he's a little bit more of a stable wide receiver too. Then Browns at the Bills. I'll start both of these duos, Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones for Cleveland. Simply put, they're going to have to air out the football a bunch versus this high-scoring Bills offense, so there should be a lot of opportunities for both these guys. They're not just going to be able to rely on the run. For the Bills, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, they have been the 1-2 punch for the Bills. Diggs a wide receiver one, Gabe Davis kind of a high-end wide receiver two. Then Panthers at the Ravens. I'm really only looking at DJ Moore here. I think he's going to have a bounce-back game compared to the game versus the Falcons, which was a bad weather game. Game script-wise, it was going to be run the ball. Here, for what it's worth, Baker Mayfield expected to start this game. I don't think that that's going to be a huge detriment here because, for what it's worth, you're going to have to pass the football. I think the Ravens are going to stop the run. So DJ Moore to me would be the top option, but he is kind of in that boomer bust, low to mid-level wide receiver 2 category. I wouldn't try and add any more fantasy relevant pieces on this Panthers offense with Terrace Marshall. That's why he's a sit. And then for the Ravens, with Rashad Bateman out for the year, you've got Duvernay, maybe Demarcus Robinson. I'd avoid both of them, honestly. I think they're going to be way too big play dependent. It's going to be Mark Andrews. It's going to be the rushing attack. It's going to be Lamar Jackson with his legs. So I'm fading the wide receivers in Baltimore. Afterwards, Lions at the Giants. Only one name I want to start here. That is Amon-Ra St. Brown. If Josh Reynolds plays this game, I would still sit him. To me, Brown is just getting the volume now. Crazy volume without TJ Hawkinson and with DeAndre Swift less than 100%. So you fire him up as a low-end wide receiver 1. Sitting Raymond and Josh Reynolds is just too inconsistent, too hard to trust. For the Giants, you're going to sit all the Giant wide receivers. And sure, you might say, well, this Giants offense, been playing better than expected. Their record is great. Sure, but how are you really going to commit to one of these wide receivers where none of them last week had over 4 targets? Are you kidding me? That's absolutely atrocious for fantasy football purposes. I've been saying it all season long. This is a run-first team. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, you fade all the Giant wide receivers. Moving on, Raiders at the Broncos. One name apiece for the Raiders, it's Devontae Adams. He's going to be hyper-targeted without Renfro, without Darren Waller. So it's going to be the Devontae Adams show. He's a wide receiver 1 for the Broncos. While Jerry Jeudy is hurt, that's why you don't see his name on the list. I wouldn't, again, try and force any other Bronco wide receivers into your lineup. It's going to be Courtland Sutton. Their offense is already atrocious enough. So to me, Sutton, a mid-level wide receiver 2. And then I wouldn't, try and chase Mac Hollins. The Raiders have been kind of inconsistent offensively, so to me, Hollins is a fade. Then Cowboys at the Vikings. For the Cowboys, really only CeeDee Lamb. Don't get me wrong, I do like the offense, but the next option after CeeDee Lamb has kind of been Dalton Schultz. Now he's back healthy. Michael Gallup is kind of third on that list. And then, you could argue the rushing attack also has its place there, so I'm only starting CeeDee Lamb. For the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. Jefferson, top 5 wide receiver. Thielen, low-end wide receiver 2. You could do worse. And then, like I said before, I'm sitting Michael Gallup. Moving on, Bengals at the Steelers. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. That's going to be the duo until Jamar Chase returns. So, I think both those guys, Higgins has the higher upside, low-end wide receiver 1. Tyler Boyd, though, very solid mid-level wide receiver 2 with nice upside. For the Steelers, I contemplated having everybody as a sit, but Deontay Johnson is getting volume. It's not good, high-quality targets, but he's still getting the volume. So in PPR formats, high-end wide receiver 3, I guess you could do worse. But other than that, I'm not forcing any other guys, including George Pickens. Then Chiefs at the Chargers. A lot of asterisks here, so let's break it down. For the Chiefs, it's Juju Smith-Schuster. He obviously last week, concussion, got knocked out. Vicious hit. We don't know if he's going to play this week. That's why I have his name with that asterisk. If he does play, he's really the only wide receiver that I kind of trust. He was getting that rapport with Patrick Mahomes. He was getting the targets. But if he doesn't, I'd probably pivot to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Some people might go after Kadarius Toney, but to me, I prefer MVS. Then it's going to be Travis Kelce probably. I think Toney's still a little bit too boom or bust new to this offense. But again, looking now on the Chargers side of it, even more asterisks. You've got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They've both kind of been practicing this week, but are they going to play? That's a complete, coin flip of a situation. If they don't play, you go with Josh Palmer. DeAndre Carter then becomes a solid, kind of dart throw type of player because, again, I think this is going to be a very high-scoring affair. Chargers are going to have to throw it a bunch to keep up with this Chiefs offense, so there should be a lot of points. If Keenan Allen and or Mike Williams play, I would not play DeAndre Carter. Josh Palmer, maybe then kind of becomes that dart throw because I would anticipate either Keenan or Mike or both of them are somewhat limited. So I do think there is some value still in Josh Palmer. Then Cardinals versus 49ers. I'll start Brennan Ayuk. I'll start Deebo Samuel. Ayuk has been getting more volume as of late. I have both these guys as mid to high end wide receiver twos. For the Cardinals, no Zach Ertz, so DeAndre Hopkins, the targets for him are going to be even more. Rondale Moore also should get more targets. I think Hopkins is a wide receiver one, obviously assuming Kyler Murray plays since he missed last week. And then Rondale Moore, I think, can be a solid low to mid-level wide receiver two on the week. But with that, we wrap up our Week 11 fantasy football wide receiver starts and sits for every single matchup. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.